Before getting into today's episode, we'd like to thank Mac Performance PT for sponsoring the Walk On Pod. For more on their services and contact information, click the link in our Instagram bio where you will be led to their website. Mac Performance PT, helping Sacramento athletes live life without limits. Thank you for tuning back into the Walk On Pod. Luckily for you guys, we got another special guest. Coming from the Killer Instinct Hoops catalog. I know I say that we circled through it, but we got a fun one for you guys today. We got Annie Malekos with us today. She's got a great story, and I can't wait for her to tell it. Annie, thank you for being on here with us.
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course.
Yeah, thanks, Annie. Or as her mother and father would know her, Annabelle.
Yes,
Let's go.
Jared's one of the only people that calls me that.
Yeah.
Yep, actually, like most people don't know my name is Annabelle, and then
Yeah.
he'll yell it at me or something when we're training. And everybody's like, "What? Who is he talking to?" That's me. That's me.
It's on
I'm
brand for Jared.
I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
Tommy gets the James treatment, I get the Lucas treatment. So
Yeah.
we
Yep,
all,
yep.
we all
Yeah.
know how it goes.
Just,
You are
it's
not
part of
alone.
it's a rite of
You're
passage.
not alone.
It really is.
Jared, do you have another name we can call you by, or?
No.
Whoa.
Anywho,
Right,
Annie,
moving
I
on.
know we gave you a little bit of a rundown, but the floor is yours. Go whatever direction you want with it, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, for most of you guys that haven't heard this before, I've had a ton of surgeries. I actually just last week had my 11th surgery. So my journey's kind of been different than most people's playing basketball and trying to play college ball. So I was diagnosed with hip dysplasia in 6th grade, and which basically means that my hips didn't form all the way. So I had almost no bone coverage on my hips. So the only thing holding them together was muscle. And so I wasn't supposed to be playing basketball. And this was actually around the time when I met Jared and started training with him. And I was kind of going through the process of figuring out what that would look like for playing because it was something that I was passionate about and I wanted to play in college since I was in 4th grade. And I was like, this is my dream. Has to happen. It has to happen. And so I kind of was figuring out with the doctors what that would look like. And they said until my growth plates close that I can keep playing. But when my growth plates close, that's when I got to have the surgeries. And past that, I'm done. I'm not playing. And so I had my basically my middle school years to play. And so I played in 6th grade, I played in 7th grade, I played 8th grade at Sutter Middle School, which was great. Heading into my surgeries, I basically what the surgery looked like was they had to reconstruct my entire hip socket. So they cut my entire pelvis, rotated it, added bones, like full reconstruction. After coming out of that surgery, I had 6 screws that were about this long. I actually should have brought them. I could have showed. They're about 6 inch.
The show and tell. That would have been a first on the
Literally
pod.
in my hips for 6 months. And for the first following that surgery, I had like about 3 months on bed rest. And Jared actually came into the hospital. I was in ICU for 2 weeks after the surgery. Because again, like my hip was basically disconnected from my body while the bones grow back together. That's like what the process was. And so Jared actually came in and was supportive through all the surgeries that I had. And so following that, I was kind of expecting that I was going to play. Like I was like, I'm going to make this happen. And my surgeon was like, hell no, you're not playing. Like you're done. You don't get it. You're done. Like this surgery is too big. It's life changing. Like you're not going to be able to do this. And he was very kept it real with me, and not in a way that's like trying to put me down, but like just being very realistic. He's like, you have to be realistic about this. And that was my freshman year of high school that I had that surgery. So going into high school, I expected to play regardless of what people were saying. And so in order to make that happen, I had to put the work in. And so I started PT. I did PT 3 times a week, 4 times a week at physical therapy. And then I was doing it 4 times a day at home. Like my mom was on the couch with me, working out with me, trying to figure out how I can make this happen and how I can get back to where I want to be. And in the meantime, I still got 6 screws in my hip. And so I went in for my 6 month checkup, and that was kind of like the moment that I would know if I was going to play or not. And season for our high school had already started. They were about halfway through, and I wanted to jump in and play. I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And I walked into the doctor's office, and he's like, hey, so like, how you feeling? We looked at your x-rays. You're looking like you're healing up good. How's things feeling? And I told him, I was like, I want to play basketball. I was like, so let me know if I can do that. And he kind of gave me some tests. He's like, do some squats. Let's run up and down this hall. And he looked at me and he's like, I don't know how you did this, but if you want to play, you can play. and I got cleared. And so I was like, this is it, I'm playing. So going into high school, I played on JV, but as soon as I came back, I started and was like, I was ready. Like I had been putting the work in before he told me I could play. I was like in the ball, in the garage dribbling, like working out, trying to get as strong as I could to come back and do that. And I was on limited minutes, so he was like, you can play 20 minutes and that's it. And he's like, I'm like limiting your minutes, so I would play exactly 20 minutes in my games and then be done. And that's how it started out. And then over summer I played.
It was like regardless of, I want to interject. It was like regardless of score. It'd be like a
Yeah.
2-point game, and like
Yeah,
the
it
timer
was.
would go off, and the coach would have to sub Annie out, and the look on your JV coach's face was like, just
It
like
was bad.
we're gonna,
Yeah.
this sucks.
It was really bad. So it was like, yeah, my teammates were so happy when I was coming back because it was like I was there for everything. Like I went to every practice, I went to everything that I could. I went and showed up in a wheelchair and was running this shot clock. Like I was in the gym doing everything I could to be a part of the team because I knew it's what I wanted. And so going into the next year, I had the exact same surgery on the other side. Again, expecting like I'm gonna play again. And this time I was like, I'm going on varsity. Like as I'm playing on varsity for the next 3 years. And this is going into my sophomore year. I had the same surgery, and this time, unfortunately, leading into when I was playing over summer, I was getting a bunch of calf pain in my left side, and I had no idea why. Like calf pain that like I would be halfway through playing and it felt like somebody was stabbing me in the leg. And I kept telling my dad, I was like, I feel like I have cancer in my calf. And like, I wasn't even kidding. I was like, I feel like I have something's wrong with my calf. Like, I don't know why. So I go into this surgery and I have my hip operated on my calf. And they actually have what's called like a nerve block. Like, they actually tap your spine. And like, I was supposed to feel nothing from the waist down for the like a week after the surgery. So I have this nerve block in. And 3 days after surgery, I come out of this and I'm like, screaming at doctors because I'm getting this like unbelievable pain in my calf. And I'm like, there's something wrong with my calf. There's something wrong. You guys need to fix this. I'm like, I'm ripping tables off. Like it was like something out of a movie. I'm not even kidding. I was ripping stuff off the counters, like throwing things. I was like, you guys have to do something to fix this. It's like, there's something wrong with my calf. And I kind of described it as like, there was somebody that took a blade, lit it on fire, and stuck it in my calf and is dragging it up and down the length of my shin. I was like, so you guys need to go out and figure out what this is. And my surgeon was like, there's two things that could be happening. Like I hit a nerve that something's wrong. I hit a nerve in your hip and we're going to have to undo the surgery and you're basically never going to be able to walk again. He's like, or something's going on, like actually in the muscles in your calf. And so I went, this is 3 days after my surgery. I went across the street. I was at Shriners Hospital for the surgery. I went across the street to UC Davis and got an MRI. And it was a 3.5 hour MRI. They had to completely take me off my pain meds because I couldn't take medicine across to the other hospital. 3 hour MRI. I passed out like on and off the entire time because of the pain. I like couldn't handle it. And they were like, you gotta sit still, you gotta sit still. I was screaming the whole time. It was like so traumatic because the pain was just unbelievable. And so they were like freaking out and they're like, why is she screaming so much? Like her calves, like what? She had surgery on her hip, I thought. And so we come back and get the results from the MRI. And what it showed was that I had nerve function from my hip, like from obviously the rest of my body, but from my hip down to my knee and then past my knee, there was nothing. There was no function. There was no nerves responding. Nothing was like working how it should. Um, and so they were like, we don't know what's going on, but we need to take her into surgery right now. And my doctor came over to my parents and he was like, I don't know what to expect when I go in there, but there is a possibility that she's going to lose her leg. And so we went into the surgery and like my parents are like in the lobby of the hospital, like praying. It was like a 6.5 hour surgery, something like that. And when they cut from the top of my, or like the bottom of my knee all the way past my ankle to open up because it was an exploratory surgery. They had no idea what was going on. And basically what they found was that my I had what's called compartment syndrome, which is like where your muscles swell so much that it like your body can't expand that much and it starts to choke it off. So my body was actually killing the muscles in my leg because they were swelling so much. And like they had no idea why this was happening. But I lost 30% of my calf muscle and 20% of my ankle muscle from having them just be the oxygen cut off. And that's what I was feeling was the muscles were actually dying in my leg. And so he was like, if you had had this for 2 hours longer before we operated, you would have lost every muscle in your leg. And he's like, and because we caught it and decided to operate, like you're going to be able to save your leg, but you're never going to walk without a brace. You're never going to play basketball again. He's like, this is not like, I got to be straight up with you. And it was like the hardest thing I've ever had to hear, because at that point I couldn't even lift my foot up. I had no muscles left to lift my foot up and lift my toes up. And so I was sitting there like, and this is like when Jared came in, and I'm like dying, like freaking out. Jared's like, what's going on? My parents are kind of explaining the process, and they're like, I'm not sure really what's going to happen. And so at this point, like, I was the angriest I think I've ever been in my life. And on a lot of pain meds too. So I think I was pretty upset with everyone around me. But I ended up having, because it was so swollen, they couldn't close the wound. So I had 3 extra surgeries on it, followed the next 3 days in a row. They went back in and cleaned out muscle and tried to get the swelling down, went back in, same thing. Finally, on the last surgery, they were able to close it up. I had 86 sutures down the length of my calf. And I had this boot that kind of held my foot up. So that's where I left at the hospital. And I walked out of there and I had the same mentality, even though they had told me, like, this is it, you're done, you're not going to play. I was like, I lifted my foot up about this much out of the hospital, like a centimeter. And I looked at my dad and I was like, I'm going to play again. I will. I'm going to play again. And I was like, and I am going to get a scholarship. I'm going to play basketball in college. And it was an even worse recovery. Like, every day was PT, like from morning till night PT, morning till night PT, like recover. It wasn't even about basketball yet. It was just get your body to a place where you can get rid of this boot. Because for about 3 months, I couldn't even lift my ankle by myself. I had to wear the boot where it would actually attach to my shoe and lift my ankle for me.
When you
And
didn't
so
even
if
go
I
to
couldn't,
school, right? You
I
like
couldn't go to
you
school. I was
did
out of
you
school.
didn't
I
go to
was,
school, did all your
yep,
online like you did all school outside of you
yep,
literally did
everything
PT
was
all day.
online.
That's when I was coming to the house.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go to school. I was in a wheelchair, like nothing was happening for me.
Mm.
For just the hip surgery, it's 3 months before I can even put weight on it. That's how severe like the recovery is. So 3 months I couldn't put weight on it. In a month, I had a post-op checkup with my doctor, and I walked into the appointment. I got up out of my wheelchair and walked into the appointment, and I told him, I was like, I took my boot off, I threw it, and I lifted my ankle, and he literally my doctor looked at me and was like, how are you doing that? He's like, I don't even understand how you're doing that, because I took the muscle that you use to lift your ankle died. He's like, so how are you lifting your ankle right now? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm playing basketball in 2 months. When we start season, I'm playing. And he looked at me and he was like, I can't even say no to that, because I don't, like, this is unbelievable. He was shocked. He like actually teared up and started crying, because he's like, I've never seen somebody go through this hip surgery alone and come out and be able to play. And for you to be told, like, you're not going to walk again without a brace. You walk in here, take your brace off, and start walking around this hospital room. Like, this is unbelievable. And it's just like, really was, my mentality was just like, I'm going to make this happen. And I couldn't have done it without everybody in my life that was so supportive. But the 2 months later, I went back into the doctor. He told me I'm good to play. And they gave me the option. Coach Lynn, I was ready for tryouts. Like, I actually participated in tryouts. And I played at Folsom High School. And Coach Lynn was like, you have the option to play on JV and play a lot. And he's like, or, because I was very, very, very slow after coming back from this, or you can play on varsity, but I just don't know how much you're going to play. And I like kind of thought about it, and I was like, well, I want to play varsity. Like, I really do. But I also am in a place where I'm like the slowest person on the floor right now, because I couldn't move. It wasn't there for me. I didn't have the strength yet. And so I chose JV. I was like, I'm gonna start on JV and work my way up to that. I didn't have limited minutes. I was able to play right away. And I think it lasted probably a week or two that I was on JV. And then they were like, okay, let's go back up to varsity. So I went back up to varsity. And then from that point, I was playing with Kenzie Forbes at that point. From that point forward, I played varsity. But unfortunately, that's not where the story ends. So those were at that point, I had 4 calf surgeries and 2 hip surgeries. I had to go back in to get the screws out for both sides. So that was 2 extra surgeries on each side to get the screws out. which was a much shorter recovery, but still about, I would say, 6 weeks before you can walk and then recover from there. So going into my junior year, I had another one, and or I guess it was at the end of my sophomore year, because junior summer is when I actually finally was able to play AAU and like try to actually go get a scholarship. And I traveled my junior year and ended up picking up, I think, about 8 scholarships, and was able to choose kind of where I wanted to go. None of them more than, I think I had one D1 from like a small school in New York, and then the rest were NAIA schools. And I kind of got to choose from there. But at that point, I was like, I did it. Like, I finally did it after all of this hard work and this perseverance and like just a pure grind and dedication. Like, it really was, because it was mentally like everyone was telling me, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. And I was like, me and like my dad and Jared and like my coaches were the only people that were like, I think she can actually do this. And I remember getting, like, when I finally got the call to get my like first offer, I called Jared. Like, I had literally got on the phone with, he was the first person I called. I was like, I got my first offer. I got my first, like, we're doing this. Like, this is insane. And it was really cool. It was just a big moment. And I'm still getting surgeries now. So, I mean, I ended up committing and playing at UC Merced for a year. And I was like really grinding my senior year and into my first year of college, where it felt like I was finally getting quicker and faster, and my body was finally in a place where I felt healthy. Like, for the first time, I felt like myself again, where I was quick and I was getting, like, I was able to rep as much as I wanted to at the gym, and like I was lifting and like doing all these things that I really couldn't do before. And I felt like I was finally hitting my groove. And like I went to school, I got to UC Merced, and I went from being the slowest person at Folsom to the fastest person at UC Merced. And defensively, like the difference was like unbelievable. And part of that goes to my coach at UC Merced, Coach Sarah. She put us through like these insane workouts. She's now coaching at Monterey Bay. But I actually got hurt there because of how much we were working out. And like I was tolerating it for like about 6 months. I was tolerating our rigorous schedule of like get up at 6 a.m., run for 2 hours, go lift for 2 hours, and then have a 3-hour practice. And I was tolerating it, but it got to a point where my body was just kind of saying like, all right, this is a bit much for you. Like, I don't know how much you're going to be able to do. And I hurt my, what's called a hip flexor. So it's like one of the main muscle groups in your hip that goes all the way into your back. And it basically is what lifts your leg up. And so when I was in Merced, I injured it really severely. And for 6 months, I couldn't play again. And this time it was like a different type of pain. It was like I would sit down after, like I would still try to work out, and like I would do my PT and stuff, and I'd try to go to practice, and then I'd sit down and I couldn't stand back up for 6 hours. Like I just couldn't stand up for some reason. It was too tight. My leg wouldn't straighten out. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this isn't right. And so I ended up having to stop playing. And I came and I transferred to Folsom Lake. And I told Coach Sarah, like, I was like, I'm coming back, but I need a year to recover and figure out what's going on with my leg. And I played it. I was going to PT and I was playing at Folsom Lake, and I unfortunately had a really bad experience there, and just had some like abusive relationships with the coaches and some of the players on the team, and it was just not a good environment for me to be in. And so halfway through that season, I left, and that's when I was told that I was also not gonna that I was gonna have to have another surgery, and that for some reason you have 10 surgeries and then you have a hip flexor release and you can't play anymore. And so it's like he told me, I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut your hip flexor and make it longer. But because it's longer, it's going to be a lot weaker and unstable. And because of that, this surgery, it's too dangerous to play for you. And he's like, so this one, like, no matter how hard you try and how much you can, like, you think you can do it, like, for your safety, it's not okay. Like, if you make your decision to have this surgery, you're done playing. And so I had to choose. And at this point, Coach Sarah was reaching back out to me, and she had just gotten a job at Monterey Bay and was like, there's a potential that you could come and play with me here. And that's a D2 school. And I was kind of like, that's what I want. Like, I want to move up. I want to keep playing. And it was just, I had to decide at that point, is my mental health and my physical health more important than continuing to play basketball? And I chose to have the surgery. And so I stopped playing. I had the surgery, and like 2 weeks later, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I have no idea what I'm going to do now. And I know most of you guys probably know Marcus Forbes, but he called me and he started working with Team Tarasi and was like, do you want to coach? And I was like, that actually sounds pretty fun. I was like, that sounds like I could do that. And I was like, what age group? And he's like, I'm thinking like 6th, 7th grade girls. Like, you can start out there and we'll see where you go. And I was like, yeah, I'm on. And we actually switched over to West Coast Elite, which is where we're at now. And I'm still coaching with him in this. I've been coaching for now about 2.5 years. And when I joined on, it was kind of like, I think this is what's next for me. And I told Jared, like, I was like, I think it might be training, it might be coaching. And I worked with him, and I kind of came and sat. I mean, you guys know I worked with you guys, and I was working with him on his training and seeing, like, shadowing him and learning from him and kind of taking it. And I train now. I do train too. And I train these young girls that I'm coaching and kind of following Jared. Like, I respect you so much. You know that. And we've been so close over my entire journey that it was kind of like, maybe I could do something like that. Like, you've impacted me in ways that, like, you don't even know. And I was like, maybe I can be that person for someone else. And so I kind of was following Jared, and I worked with him for a little bit, and then got the opportunity to start coaching. And now I've been coaching with West Coast Elite. Again, like I said, it's my 2nd year. I got asked by Ryan Silver to be the social media director for all of West Coast Elite. So I'm doing that, and I'm now just got named the Sacramento Youth Director. So I'm moving up and able to, now I have about, I think, like, I'll have like 4 teams of girls in Sac that I'll be coaching and running that program. And I'll see you guys a lot because it's going to be on the sports court. So, but it's going to be exciting. So it was exciting stuff. And with that came some really cool opportunities that I went through this last summer. I got asked to by the Stanford coaches to help at their camp. So I got to, like, work with Tara Vanderveer and Kate Peg, like, in their camp and assist with them and learn from them. Like, it was absolutely insane. And Tara asked if I'd come watch some practices and some games. Like, insane experience. Like, I was shocked that I got to be a part of that and, like, have that opportunity, like, bigger than I could ever imagine. And then just recently got asked to come to the Steph Curry camp and do some media there. So it's just been an incredible journey. And, like, I didn't end up where I thought I would at all. But it's been better than I could have ever imagined too. So
that was a great way. That was a great little one-liner there to end it all. I think that was pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
that's
wow.
why you are Annabelle right there.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot too, like, to take in, but and a lot to talk about. But yeah.
I think the coolest thing of all of it is your ability to adapt and your ability to, like, compartmentalize the frustration. Because
Yeah.
I think that's, like, people that like have gone through surgeries and people that have, like, it's always, like, I think it's the most heart-wrenching thing, and I'm not trying to be a downer about it, but it's like you get to that point where you can start moving and feeling good and, like, feeling like kind of back to normal, and then you have a setback, and, like,
Yeah.
that's, like, a very, very it takes a lot of will to be able to, like, I don't know, to not be corny, but, like, just to get out of bed
Yeah.
and, like, have purpose. And I'm super happy for you that you have found these other avenues. And I think that's probably one of the, I mean, for people that don't know, you were a amazing player and one of the best shooters to come through the KI fam.
Thank
Put
you.
that against boys or girls. Luke, Tommy.
Appreciate
but
that.
but you know, it's funny how the different ways you can impact the game without actually playing the game. And that's what I learned with training, and that's where I feel fortunate. And it's cool for me to see you kind of fall in that same mold, because you do have the right mind for it. So I think that's the hardest part, is if you don't have the mind for it, then, like, basketball is fleeting. But if you have the
Yeah.
mind and the passion for it, then, like, yeah, I don't know, your brain's always on.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And you're right on with that. Like, I agree that some of the hardest parts of that whole journey was just getting out of bed and like trying to mentally prepare yourself for that day. And like the pain that came with recovery is like, I mean, for example, like, and there's so many details that I could talk about for this too, but like even the pain of the calf before I had the surgery, the doctor
Yeah.
compared it to giving birth for 4 days straight. He said it's the third highest pain you can ever experience. And like to hear that, and I'm like, I'm going through this for like what is this for?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand. Like what is the whole point of this? Like why is this happening to me? And it's always like, why does it come back to me? Why does it come back to me? But it's like I always think like what helped me get through so much of that like those down days and like the days that just kind of drag on is that like someone always has it worse. There's always somebody out there that has something that is worse, that they're going through worse, that there's something harder than this. Like, this is okay. This is my story. This is what I have to go through. And honestly, like, just embracing it and being like, okay, today sucks. That's all right. We're going to do something today that's good. Like, we're
Yeah.
going to get something out of this day. And I'm kind of like learning that right now because the last few days have been rough. Let me tell you, like, this surgery, even though it's one of the easier ones that I've had, is the same thing. Lengthening hip flexor. I had the same thing last year. For some reason, this year it's been twice as hard. Like the pain's been worse. I'm coming off the narcotics, like the withdrawals from that. People don't think about that. Like it's crazy. It's crazy the other avenues that you have to kind of overcome in order to be in that space. But really, like having that mindset of just being like, someone has it worse, and like if this is what I have to go through today, then that's what it is. But if you have your mind right, you're gonna get there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Kind of shifting gears. You obviously the Steph Curry camp was the last thing that you did. What
Yes.
was one of the biggest? Obviously, there's so many clips that went viral from like him talking about people playing the right way and moving without the ball, and also like his trainer Brandon talking about different stuff.
Oh my God,
And
it was incredible.
what did you take? What was the number one thing that you felt like you took personally from being in that environment?
Can I branch it into two separate questions actually?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I want you to answer it as a player's mind, and I want you to answer it as a coach's mind too.
Okay. Well, first I'm gonna go as a person because I actually did have opportunity to talk to him one-on-one, and like that is insane. I'm sorry, but like that's crazy to me to say that I got to talk to Steph Curry one-on-one. Like I never thought that would ever happen. Like it was insane. So I went up to him and I got to ask, like, I asked him actually about training. I was asking about his training routine and like how much more do you put into shooting that you do like dribbling or ball handling or finishing? Like what's that ratio look like? And kind of like how do you structure those workouts postseason, preseason, like during season? I got to ask him those questions. And instead of just saying like, oh, I do a 20 minutes ball handling, 15 minutes shooting, like whatever his workout is, he took 20 minutes out of that camp to just talk to me about it. And like went through, showed me drills. Like it was unreal. The time that he took, he was just such a personable person and like was so respectful. And like to me, I'm a nobody to him. Like he has no idea who I am. Like I'm just this kid at a camp that's doing media. Like there were some of the kids that came from West Coast Elite. Like, but for him to take the time to actually explain those to me, like it was like mind blowing to me. That's not something that I've seen most NBA players take the time to do. And like I know if they do, it's not getting broadcasted enough. Because like to me that stood out the most is like him as a person is just like he's awesome. But the biggest thing that stood out is that like for what I was like when I was watching those drills was just at least for watching his training, because before each camp he did his training, which I'm sure you guys seen like tons of highlights from. But his workouts, he started his workout like 2 hours before camp started, and like the drills that he was doing were like full court drills. So like he would shoot, like he was doing a star drill across the entire court, and until he made all of those shots, like he wasn't done. And then if he missed, he's going 10 makes in a row. If he misses one, he starts over. If he misses one, he starts over. He's doing these drills. Like I watched him shoot for an hour and a half straight without stopping. Like the stamina, I guess I would say, to play at that level is just like it's unrealistic for I think what most players expect. Like you have to be in the best shape of your life if you want to be a good player. Like I think I learned that like if you want to play at an elite level, if you want to play in college, if you want to play high school, if you want to be an elite player, you need to be in incredible shape. That is like a really big important part of it, and especially like he said something about defense too, where he's like, if you don't love defense, if you don't love working out and like pushing yourself to get better, this isn't right for you. Like you're in the wrong place. Like if you hate getting up and working out for 2 hours and taking a break and then going working out for another 2 hours, like you're in the wrong business. Like get out of the gym. But like just watching him train and seeing the way that he trains is just, it was just like it was like I can't even explain it. It was incredible. But as a coach's perspective, I think the coolest thing that I saw was that he's so involved in the camp. Like he's actually coaching the kids and talking to the kids and like explaining things. But I think he explains it in a way that everyone can understand, like regardless of IQ and regardless of how much experience you've had. And I just think like I don't know if I could pinpoint an exact thing that he said. I took notes on it too, but there was one moment. Hang on, give me a second. I can't remember exactly what he said. It was about spacing and timing, and like he was explaining it to these kids. And it's like, I mean, you think spacing and timing, it's like say you have 5 out, you know, like you pass and you cut, right? But he was saying like when you catch the ball and you rip and go right away, he's like, I know I say make decisions quickly, but if you catch the ball and rip right away before you look and see where the defense is shifted, you're going to run right into whoever's still shifting. And he's like, so when I say, well, you have 0.5 seconds to make a decision, you do, but you got to look before you make that decision and say, like, if the ball's swinging around the perimeter and you catch the ball and start to rip in the direction that the ball's swinging, you're going to run right into the help that's coming over. And so it's just like the way that he's explaining things to these kids, like you can picture it and understand what he's talking about. And so as a coach's perspective, like I think it helps to be in environments like that where I can learn like the way that he explains things and kind of take that and try and put it into what I'm doing with my kids as well. Like I know it's a completely different level, but like it translates the same and it builds those kids into being something that you know other, at least to that other coaches I haven't seen be able to do.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you
No, it's
can. Oh, go ahead, Luke.
that was cool to listen to, honestly. Just
Um,
because you see stuff on socials and you don't get the
Right.
full immersion, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So like
Yeah.
the way you were explaining it, that was pretty cool to hear.
Yeah.
So now that you've gotten your feet wet a little bit here with coaching, Annie, and we haven't talked about this part much. So I'm curious to get your perspective because I know you're like an avid WNBA watcher, women's college, and obviously you played, and then now coaching girls. What do you think is the one thing that would help the girls' game grow more or just get more notoriety? Obviously, realistically, but like, what's one thing like now that you see it, like you see these girls, you go to these Under Armour sponsored tournaments, you see these high level girls, you work with them, and it's like it's still not getting the same love and notoriety that let's say the men's
Yeah.
game is. Like, what do you think is the one thing that can take them to the next step or the next level?
I think a lot of it has to do like it's interesting because if you look at it at different levels, like I've researched a little bit on the WNBA side, like a lot of why they don't get the coverage is financial, right? They don't have the financial support, the same sponsorships to be on like the same channels that the NBA is on and be in those mainstream spots. So as a result, they don't get, it's like a never ending cycle because as a result, they don't get as many ticket sales. And as a result, the girls get paid less. And as a result, they don't get seen as much. So it's just like this never ending cycle. But a lot of it comes from the media coverage. So if they can get more people or higher quality people on the running the media and doing stuff like that and getting them out there where people can get seen, like media is huge. It's like grown, at least for what I can say on West Coast Elite, it's been huge for just our program and being able to like show our girls and showcase our girls. And like I think we've pulled in just from not just from our media, but part of our media presence has pulled in like over 50 offers for these girls. And so it's just like the being in the spotlight is what has to grow. And in order for that to happen, there has to be more sponsorships and more money coming in on the girls' side to to be a reason to for them to be there, right? And but for, I think, at least on the high school, college side, like what Steph Curry's doing needs to be happening with everywhere. It needs to be happening with other NBA players that are like, a lot of NBA players do it with boys. I think Kyrie Irving's done it with girls. I think Steph Curry's done it with girls, but there's not many others that do it. And like, it's huge. It's a huge thing for the girls to be going at the same time as the boys, and to be in the same drills as the boys, and to be getting the same media coverage as the boys. Like, being in the same environment is really big. And like, Steph makes at least for this is a really good example, because I just went to this, but he makes it a point to be as involved with the boys as he is with the girls. And so he'll go and run some drills with the girls, and then he'll go jumping with the boys, and then he'll go scrimmage with the girls, and then he'll go scrimmage with the boys. Like, it's like he takes the time to care. And I think we need more people in the basketball world that care and that want to bring it up, because like, girls basketball has so much to offer. And like, you've seen it, you've trained incredible girls. There's countless WNBA players that don't get the recognition that they deserve. And like, and it really, a lot of it comes from the media coverage is what I've seen.
Yeah, I think just like on that note, I don't want to cut you off, or Tommy or Luke, but like, you would know her name. What's the girl, the shooter that was at Steph's thing that she blew up on social media? I know she was already highly ranked, but I didn't know who she was. Is it Fudge, or how do you say her last name?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look it up. She was one of the better players. Tommy, you knew what her name?
I'm sorry, are you talking about the girl at UConn? Like,
is that where she's at? I think she's at UConn, the light skinned girl.
From this year?
I know Steph gives her a lot of love. I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Oh, she didn't play. She coached.
Oh, is that okay? I just saw her working out.
Ozzy, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I was like thinking of the girls, and I was like,
no. Yeah, I didn't know if she was a player or not. I didn't know.
She's at UConn.
Oh, okay.
Ozzy, yeah.
You got player of the year, right? Or no, 2 years ago or something?
Like that, yeah. She's insane. She did the same workout. She was working out with Steph, doing the same stuff that he was doing, and like training with his trainers and stuff.
I think that was like, so see, like, that's how ignorant I am, right? Is like, I didn't know if she was a UConn commit or if she was, but like, she was on my timeline relentlessly. And like, I think that was like, that was cool, because she got more, even though she wasn't in the camp, she got more pub than any of the other guys or whatever that I saw.
Well, and it's like the same thing, like what Kobe was doing it really well too. And like, I know his birthday was yesterday, but like, he was doing that before anybody else was. Like, he was going to WNBA games. He'd bring his whole team with him to come and support these girls that nobody else was watching, and he'd be hyping up these girls that nobody else, like, he was a big part of Sabrina Ionescu's story, and like bringing her up, and she's like, you guys know her, right? Like, there's a reason why that is. And so it is guys like that that are taking the time. Like, Kyrie's doing it, Steph's doing it. Like, we just need more players like that and people like that. And unfortunately, a lot of it has to come from like the corporate side and having the financials to back it.
So. I think the other dope thing is
I have the best game right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sabrina's shoe is like, that's the number one right now.
I know. I met her brother too. I've met Sabrina twice, I think, now too. But I met her brother at a West Coast Elite event. He was running the door. I was like, what is this?
They're like they gave those out at the EYBL sessions this year. Instead of giving out boys like the men's shoes. They gave out the Sabrinas.
They're hot right now. I know.
Yeah.
I know. No, she's awesome. She's and players like that, and players like Caitlin Clark, like, they're blowing up the girls' side. Like, but again, like, those are the only players that are getting that coverage. But it's like the ones that stand out, they're starting to pop up. It's just we need that more. We need it a lot more, and it needs to be seen.
They said Angel Reese can't even go to in-person classes anymore at LSU.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, because her valuation is so high, or what?
She was like celebrity status, like the learning wasn't happening and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, she was funny at the ESPYs.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
And like Haley Van Lith, I think she was at another camp that I don't remember whose it was, but she's another one that's been blown up too. And of course, like, she's insane, but
crazy.
Yeah.
I'll say about, and this is gonna jump all over the place a little bit here, but I think you might have mentioned it like very slightly when you were going through your story and everything, but we talk about it a lot on here. It's kind of just the love for the game because someone like you and every piece of adversity that was thrown at you, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but unless you love the game and you love the process and you love what comes with playing basketball, good and bad, you're not going to go through all that to get to where you are today. And I think anyone who listens to this episode like can really it can be a real reality check. Like,
Mhm.
okay, do I love it that much? Like put myself in her shoes. Like, do I love it that much? So like I feel like you kind of just skate over all these things and like yeah, you talk about oh I wanted to prove it to myself and yeah, oh I'm gonna play again. I'm gonna be a scholarship player and like I love that, but like at the same time, like that's just your passion for the game. That's just like to me that was what stuck out the most. And like I've just been sitting here waiting for my time to basically commend you for that. But like I was aware of your story and like we knew each other from when you were talking about the times when you were in there with Jared and stuff. And like you could tell even just you being the handoff person, like how
I
much you
know.
love just like being a
Got
part of
those
it. So like
videos though.
yeah, for me like it just kind of solidified everything I already knew about you. And like I think for you now going into coaching or the being in coaching and stuff, like it makes you that much more valuable as a coach. Because one, every player that you're talking to, you're no longer telling them something that you haven't been a part of. Like if you tell
Mhm.
a player now to like, oh, you can push through it. Like I promise you can get through this. Like look at Coach Annie. Like obviously she knows I can get through it. Look what she got through. Like stuff like
Annie was
that
out there at
matters.
sport courts coaching in a wheelchair like last
I
year.
was. I actually was doing that yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding, guys. Like rolled up in a wheelchair, and I've got
Hey,
probably
shout out Joe, man. Shout out Joe.
Joe does push me around. Yes,
Yeah, shout out Joe, man. She really pushes Annie around.
my girlfriend helps me out a ton.
Yeah.
She's absolutely incredible. She's my rock. But yeah, like she rolls me up to the court. I'm not even kidding. I have my parents who don't play basketball ever, never play basketball, trying to demonstrate the drills that I'm trying to talk these girls through. I've got like 50 kids on the
Yeah.
court, and I'm sitting in my wheelchair, like and I was just, and I did that for about 6 weeks till I could walk again.
Yeah.
It's like
Really on your
I don't
Uncle Drew
stop.
out there.
I don't stop.
Yeah, it was wicked.
But it is true. It is true. Like it's hard to fit all of my story into such a small, like condensed version because like you're exactly right. The thing that keeps you going is like how much do you love this? And like is it worth it to continue to keep going? And I finally made the decision when I stopped playing that my mental health and my physical health it wasn't worth it to keep playing, but that I wasn't done with basketball. And I was like, I was ready to give that part up. I was like, okay, I'm at a place where I think I can stop playing, but I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have to be a part of this somehow. Like I love it too much and it's done so much for my life. Like it changed my life because if I didn't choose to continue to play, like I would probably still be in a wheelchair. Like, and that's just the realistic facts that were told to me when I had the surgeries. Like it wasn't realistic for me to keep playing, but it's something that I chose to continue to push through. And like my surgeon said, like you were the only person, and there's only so many people that have hip dysplasia and have to have this surgery to think about. But he's like, he's the only one of the only surgeons in the world that does this surgery, and he's like, you are the only person that I've ever done this on that has been able to play come back to the sport that they love ever. He's like, I have never seen any of my cases be able to do this. The furthest that they've been able to do is walk. And he's like, so it really is cool. Like I don't get to talk about those parts, but you were exactly right. It's honestly a mental game when it comes to any injuries or any surgeries that you go through or any like you're last on the bench and you want to start like any sort of adversity that you have to come through. It's a mental thing that if you push yourself and you want it enough, you will make it happen.
The
Like you honestly
honorary
are your
walk-on
biggest barrier.
mentality. Yeah.
Yes, you are
Perfect.
your
Man,
biggest barrier.
She's right on brand.
she's literally just
Yeah.
just running with the punches.
7:30
Money.
p.m. on a Tuesday. I'm walking out of sport courts. Here comes Annie rolling in the door. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Go home.
I know.
It's like
And
30
you're about to
girls
see
just
a lot
running
more
up
of
and down
me.
the court,
That's
chasing each other,
You're
screaming at
gonna
the
see a
top of
lot
their
more of me.
lungs.
I'm telling you.
I'm just
We're
like, get
coming
me
back to
out of
sports
here.
court.
Annie's like, all right, let's go baseline. I'm like, oh God, go home.
It's real scary
I was like,
hours.
Jared, come here.
Sport
Can you
course.
demonstrate? I should have told you to come over and help me. My parents were
Oh,
like, all right, you're going to do these defensive slides. And they're looking at me like,
geez,
what?
I do have another this probably isn't the right way to say it, but I'm gonna ask you anyways because you're the homie. You have been coaching and you're talking about all this stuff and it's all good and it's all positive. What is the one thing that hate is a strong word? What is the one thing that you dislike the most about coaching, or one thing that you wish wasn't part of
Oh,
coaching? I just want to know now that you're turning into a real seasoned vet here, so I can have this
I,
conversation with you.
I could talk about
I,
this for days.
yeah, you don't
I
have to name any
cannot,
names. This will
won't.
stay anonymous.
I can't stand the parents. I can't stand the parents. Jared, you told me walking into this, he's like, I don't know why you want to coach. He actually, like, I was on the phone with him and he was like, you're not going to like it. You're not going to like what people have to say. Like, it's training. You don't have to deal with that. Like, you just train the kids. It's the skills. Like, you teach them the IQs, everything like that. But this coaching's a different story. You have politics. You really do. I hate the politics. I do. I hate it. But I love the kids so much and I love basketball so much and I love teaching so much that it's like it becomes worth it. But you guys won't believe the stuff that some parents say.
Oh, we can trade stories. I don't.
I can't even believe it. Like one of these, I'm gonna tell you, I'm being dead serious. A parent, and I had these two kids leave the team because of this. This dad came up to me and he's a handful already. And their kid, like I'm gonna be honest, she could shoot the lights out. Like she would hit 7 threes in a row, brought us back from a 17-point deficit. She's in 6th grade, like going into 7th now, but like literally killer shooter, like great player. The dad is a handful. And so he comes into this game, they're 30 minutes late. Okay. At the end of the game, he comes up to me. He's like, why didn't you start my daughter? I was like,
Yes.
You were 30 minutes late. What do you mean? And he was like, you didn't start her. I don't understand. And then he texted Marcus, who's like my director, and he's like, and then they left the program because of it. They haven't come back. They haven't said anything to me since. And I'm like, bro, are you insane? Like you were 30 minutes late to the game. Are you saying the second half? Like you're not going to start the second half. You didn't come here for the first half of the game. Like it was
Yeah,
crazy.
Annie.
But it's stuff like that, and I'm not even, like you deal with that every single day with like at least AAU parents. I'd say like high school because I do coach at Folsom High too, and I coach the frost off. I'm the head frost off coach, and then I assist on JV and then varsity where I can. And I was actually going to coach on varsity this year as an assistant, but with my schedule, I just couldn't commit to the hours. But with that, like you walk in the gym and you have no parents, you have nothing to deal with except the kids, and it's like heaven. It's like it's just so much easier. You feel like you can coach freely and not have to have like somebody always have something to say because you're never like I had to learn real quick. You cannot make everyone happy, and like the decisions that I make, I stand by them. And like I'm trying, like at the end of the day, my biggest goal for them is to make the kids better. But the parents, they don't always think that. They think so. You got some vendetta or something else is going on, right? Like every single time. Like your kid's in 5th grade, she's not Kobe, okay? She's gonna sit the bench sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's what the funny part about it is that you have so many bad parents that you deal with, and it's just that one set of Amy and freaking Jeremy's that just make you like stick around.
Yeah.
The Mark and Michelle's, the Jim and the Stacy's. It's just like,
yeah.
It's like you're like, God, I hate all these people over here. I can't stand them. And then there's just like 3 people standing over here. It's like, oh, God.
I know. And every time like I come back to, I'm like, no matter how dumb the parents may be or how crazy they are, I was like, it comes down to the kid and what the kid needs. And I cannot hold with their actions and whatever they do against what the kid needs and what they're responsible for. So I think that was something I had to learn early on too, is it's like, even though they may say some crazy stuff, like the kid is ultimately who you're working on and working with, right?
Yeah, totally.
And ultimately, as your coach, you're working for them. You want them to be the best that they can be. And it's hard. It really is hard to separate those emotions because like I get really attached to my kids. I get really close to them. I love them all so much. And then when you have a parent that's like, you made a mistake and they take your kid off your team, it's like you don't see that kid again, and unless like you run into each other, they come crawling back to the team, which has happened with like 10 kids already. It's a whirlwind. So it is kind of like you kind of have to keep everybody at a distance, but with the kids, it's like it's hard. That is hard.
Okay, so I'm curious. Now that we've discussed how horrible coaching is, like, what was like, obviously when you decided you were not going to play and you got that call from Marcus, I'm sure that was scary and hard for you to be like, yeah, I'm going to get into coaching. I want to know, what was the moment when you were coaching when you were like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Like, obviously you love basketball. Anyone that listens to this first 10 minutes of this episode, that's clear. Like, where, like, I want to know, like, what did a player do something, or like when you saw that satisfaction, you're like, yeah, I love this. Like, I can do this for sure.
I don't know why that light just turned off, but I at tryouts, it was actually like literally our tryouts going into coaching, and this is when I knew that I would love it. But I have two stories, but when I knew that I loved it was that I came into tryouts and I saw a kid that reminded me so much of me, but had no talent. It was like the hardest worker on the floor, could not dribble, could not shoot, but she was the hardest worker. And I literally looked at that kid, and Marcus was kind of like, I don't know, like, what do you think we should do? And I was like, I need that kid on my team. I was like, I really do. And I got her in 6th grade, I think. I got her going into her 6th grade year. That's the summer before. And then she's going into 8th grade this year, and she's on our top 14U's premier team now. And that, like, with Jared, like, I trained her, I coached her, and like, I think what made me love it so much is to see the development, because like and it's all her work. Like, I don't take credit for it. I gave her the tools, but she's been like somebody who loves it and loves playing, loves getting better, and has taken those and gone and actually like done what I tell her to do, and has come back and is like this awesome player who can like shoot, like has almost perfect shot form, where she was shooting the ball like this and couldn't even extend her hips when she would jump. Like, it was crazy what I was watching, but like now she has a full shot form and is like draining threes in games and like cooking kids. It's just like, that is probably the most rewarding thing that I always come back to, no matter how hard it gets. It's like, that's what I love about it. But when I knew that I could do it, I think was I was at practice and the kids were like really goofing off, and it's hard because I'm young. And so like I'm only 21 and I like recently turned 21, so it's like, and these kids they're not that much younger than me if you really think about it, especially my high schoolers, because like I'm working with some varsity kids and they're only like 3 years younger than me. So it's like it's kind of
Right.
crazy, but like I think when I knew I could do it is that like they were kind of acting up a little bit, and I just like was straight with them and kind of like got them into order like this, and they just listened. And I looked at them because I had never like gotten stern with them or like yelled at them or anything like that, and I didn't really have to, but I was just like, hey, like, we got to get ready for like we need to take this seriously. And they all just were like soldiers in a line, like ready to go. And I was like, oh, they listen, like I can do this. Like
Yeah.
they do. There is a respect, and like we can do this together, and like we're gonna find a way. And the age gap has been a problem for some parents. Like, they look at me and I'm short and I am in a wheelchair half the time. And like and they look at me and they're like, who is this kid that's this young and coaching like at this level? And we have an elite program. So it's like, it is weird for some of them to come in and see my face instead of Marcus's, or see my face instead of like Jim Pease, which is our director and like very, very well known in the Bay Area, who has like 50 boys teams that are really, he coached Jalen Green, like very well known. And they come into me and they're like, who's this? And so it's like, it's something that has been an issue for sure. But I think once they see me coach in the way that I respect the kids, but also am stern with them and am there to only make them better, they quickly catch on that like I'm there for the right reasons and that the girls are going to grow. So I think it was pretty cool to see that change.
I love that.
Yeah.
So before we get into our starting five, we've reached the part of the program
God.
where I think tonight it might benefit you, Jared.
Probably
all
the
of
first
our-
time.
All of our KI Hoops family guests, I asked the same question. And typically we have a standard answer, but I feel like we might get a better one out of you tonight. What is your favorite Jared story?
My favorite?
Yeah, Jared's
Any
moment,
Lord.
story, whatever it is.
Let me think about this. Hang on.
history likes to talk about his stubbornness. I don't know if you want to go that route, but
I was just gonna let it rock.
That's not gonna work because Annie's more stubborn than I am. So
I don't know if I have a favorite Jared story. I think one of my favorite things about him is how how lighthearted you are and how funny you are. Like the way that you coached me is like it's weirdly motivating and also like sometimes hurtful at the same time.
condescending.
Like, it's funny because I
There it
think
is.
I
That's what Luke was looking for.
listen
Jared's
Yeah.
verbally abusive, but it's kind of funny. So
sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but for real, like it's been actually I feel like I have taken that on a little bit because I mess with my kids and like I do like to kind of be like, you kind of suck right now. What are you doing? Like, but not that you do that, but a little bit. Well, there's times.
no,
But
I
think
We've all
definitely
heard
did
it.
that.
We've all heard
I,
it from
I,
I
Jared.
have my favorite Annie story, but I'm gonna let Annie finish.
oh, you tell me after that though. I want to hear it. But I
Yeah.
do remember like the funny moments where we were training with like Emily and we're messing around and like you hate it, like you deeply hated it because we could not stop laughing and like goofing around and like we're trying to get our reps up and like Emily couldn't make a damn layup for her life that day. And I don't know why, but we had to get like 6 in a row and she was missing
Just
every
that day.
layup. So I'd make one and then she'd miss what all we did was layups that whole day because she couldn't make a layup. I was like, Emily, if you don't make this damn layup, I'm gonna smack you. But we were just like laughing because every time she would miss it, and then we'd get to like 5 and then I'd miss one. And it was like just back and forth and back and forth. And Jared was like, he was so pissed off and like for real was like, you guys need to knock it off. And then he called us space cadets. And from that point forward, like we always, me and Emily are like, oh, your two favorite space cadets are coming to work today. Like just we
Yeah,
just
it was
stuck with
wild.
it. And like me and Emily still joke about it and like call each other. I'm like, you're the space cadet. Like it's just funny stuff like that where it's like he really does get frustrated and upset and like you could still have fun with it and still be learning. Like it's funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for your brand there, Jared.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to
Yeah.
come have a goofy time, come
Okay,
to
it
KI
was.
Hoops.
Okay,
Yeah,
but you
real
can't lie.
goofy,
There's
real
been
goofy
good ones
bag,
like there
Jared.
too. There's also I ended up in tears a lot of times
Yeah.
after I trained with him.
That's the maddest I've ever seen Annie is we were training. This one I used to train at Folsom High School.
Yep.
And Annie used to train with her sister Abby, who like we love Abby very much.
We love Abby.
But from a skill standpoint, Abby was not at the same level as Annie. And Abby was like 2 or 3 years older. So it was like always a little frustrating for her. And I think it was like we would do advanced stuff because I'm gonna push the workout to like the most advanced player. And like there'd be times where like Abby would not be able to finish the drills because it was like too tough for
Yeah.
her skill wise, and she would get frustrated and she'd get down on herself. But this one time,
It was so
this
bad.
it was this one time, Annie could not figure out how to do a quick rep. She
Okay, but
couldn't do the
listen.
footwork right. She couldn't do the footwork right, and Abby picked it up like this. This is like when Annie was like 8th grade. This is before the surgeries and stuff like that, and like she
Don't
was
tell him that. That's worse.
no, no, I'm giving you the credit because this is like when you were actually moving, and it wasn't like you couldn't
Yeah.
blame it on the surgery. You just like you were being a space cadet and you
I
couldn't
really
figure
was.
out. Like she was stopping on the opposite foot, the inside foot. You know what I'm talking about, Tommy, Luke, where she would do the pickup, like she would gallop her leg over and cross her feet.
Oh, man.
Like Jared,
Yeah.
when you talk about it now, because I
Yeah.
teach it too, I'm like, how was I even doing that?
Yeah. So like
I
we
don't
would
even
do.
understand it.
It was so bad. And Annie was like in anger tears, like not crying like emotionally, but like fuming tears out as opposed to like yelling. It was so bad that I had to be like, okay, Abby, you just keep doing your reps at the basket. I got to do this with Annie at half court at Folsom
It was
High. And
so-
it was
I
like
was
11
pissed.
in the morning, 10 in the morning on a Sunday. And we're the only 3 people in there. And Annie's just standing at half court, not being able to figure it out. It took us like 20 minutes.
It
And it
should've-
was
like
so-
no, I think it took more than that because I
No.
think I left that day and I still didn't know how to do it, and I was so upset. I was like, Dad, I'm done with basketball. That's what got me right there. I was like, I'm done. No, actually, I did have a lot of days where like it was good because you would push me and like I would come and work out with kids that are better than me half the time, and that's what I think makes players better. You know, put yourself in a position where you're not the best player and you're going to grow. But when I when I would get in those positions, or like even a lot of times one-on-one, most of the time one-on-one, I would get so pissed off, and I look back at it and I'm like, what was I even upset about? I'd be like, oh, you need 4 makes, or like 4 in a row, and I'd get like 3 in a row, like 6 times, but I'd miss the last one, and I'm pissed, and I think I suck at shooting. And like, you're making 3 in a row and missing 1, and then making 3 in a row and missing 1. Like, that's not bad. But like, I was so mad, and I would leave crying. And Jared's like, what is wrong with you? Like, I would be, but it's just like the level of expectation that I have of myself, I guess.
That and my other favorite part is it'll probably never come back, but when Annie was a kid, she had braided pigtails.
Oh yeah.
And when she would do spin moves, they were
Mm.
so long, they would whip her in the face and hit her. Like, she would like actually be in pain because they were like so heavy.
I'd have to stop, or I'd go like this to shoot, and my hair would get stuck in my hand.
Yeah.
And when I would go to shoot it, my whole neck would fly backwards. And that happened a lot. And he's like, what is wrong with, like, what are
It
you
was
doing? Like, you
wicked.
need to cut
Yeah.
your hair.
Those
And I'm like,
pigtails,
"Nah,
man.
I got no hair."
Yeah.
But I don't play anymore, so it doesn't matter. But
You know what? You know what Annie needed in that moment? Micro Skill Mondays at KI Hoops JW
Yes.
on it. Throw them the follow. Thank you.
That is what I needed. And I love those, by the way.
Who doesn't love Micro Skill Mondays?
No, I do.
Yeah, I think most people do. I think it's starting five time.
I think it's time.
How we feeling?
Yeah, we're good.
So
I feel like we should have Tommy go first, no matter what.
Okay, so to introduce the starting 5, we talked about
we
Steph
got
Curry
crushed last week, so
every week, Jared, every week.
I checked the voting. I was like, oh dear God,
bro, it was 2 weeks
voted
ago.
for
This
myself.
week has yet to be
Okay.
posted.
That's what I mean. Like the last one we did, the last one that's been posted as well.
Who won? I won.
Oh my God, that was the coaches one, right?
Yeah, it was a blowout. Anyways,
Yeah,
come on.
Okay.
All right. So, anyways,
jeez, man, these guys. We have starting 5 Steph Curry moments, Steph Curry shots, Steph Curry personas. Starting 5 Steph Curry. We talked a lot about him today. Felt like it was right. There's a lot of Steph Curry stuff going on in the media right now. So it felt like the right topic. Jared just proposed Tommy to go first. We usually give it to the guests. But
I did not want to go first.
Okay, there you go, Tommy.
Annie wasn't ready to go
I
first.
just came off my surgery. I was on narcotics. I was like, what do you mean Steph Curry?
So,
like, what? Videos?
So do we want to go 5 straight? Or
let's go 5 straight.
I think it's probably smart to go 5 straight.
All right.
And I'm going to go next,
take notes,
Jared.
pay attention. That's fine.
Okay, I'm listening.
There's just so
I'll go last. We'll let Annie go third.
There's just so many to choose from. Luke, I went straight moments like off the top of my head, but now that Luke just said personas, I'm switching my point guard, and I'm going to make this quick. My point guard's going to be, this is a video that I've seen many times, but if you guys watch the Underrated documentary, which I'm sure we all did, I've got Steph Curry rapper edition at Davidson College. I know you've seen the music video. Give me Steph Curry music video guy at point guard. Okay. That video is hilarious. I need that in my lineup. At the 2, I've got Steph Curry's 22-point third quarter against the Denver Nuggets in 2013 playoffs. It was kind of their coming out party, the Warriors coming out party. Game 4, set the NBA on fire, letting everybody knew that he was coming, and they went on to lose the Spurs, but won that series. Crazy quarter. At the 3, I don't know what. This game doesn't get talked about too much. I think it's because it was the COVID year with no fans. Give me his 62-point game versus the Trailblazers. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was cool.
Absolutely unconscious. I mean, Steph does it all the time, but that's one that's great. At the 4, give me right wing Game 6 NBA Finals. Matthew Dellavedova on an island, in and out cross, sidestep, splash, mean mug down the sideline. to really solidify, or it was game 5, sorry, to really solidify what they were going to do. And then at the 5, give me probably my current favorite Steph Curry moment of all time, because the odds were stacked against him and it looked grim for the championship odds, and he walked into TD Garden in the purple shoes, gave him 43, probably his most legendary moment in my eyes. So that's why it's holding it down at the center. Need a big strong one there.
Yeah.
Like it.
Like it.
No debate from my end.
Yeah, all good moments. Luke, you want to reel off next, and then Annie, you
Yeah.
can go. And then we just do the 5 and then walk on the way back.
Yeah, so at my point guard, I need my point guard to be as detail oriented as possible. Need to be able to do all the little things on the court that matters. And for that, I need them to be extremely precise with their actions. Give me hole in one, Steph Curry. I think this is a new
Good one.
Steph.
That's
This is
right
a
on
new
brand.
Steph.
I love that.
It fits the point guard mold, so I
Yeah.
need him at the 1. At the 2,
Throwing darts out there.
yeah, exactly. At the 2, I got one that feels like it's a clip that gets brought up a lot, especially right now. And it'll make sense when I announce it. But it's my shooter because one, it was a pretty big shot, and 2, I felt like it was kind of a coming of age moment for Steph Curry. I know he was still wearing Nikes when this happened, so he was young. The ankle problems were not fully overcome at that point. I got the Kobe push off 3 in the preseason game when he patted him on the butt. I feel like it's kind of a big moment that it was a little tip of the cap from the Black Mamba, and I need that at the 2. At the 3, I need someone with a lot of passion. We talked about passion. I need someone with a lot of passion, a lot of fire, a lot of anger. I got throw mouth guard, Steph Curry at my 3. I think it's one that people don't really talk about a lot because it's one of his lower moments. But I look at it as a fiery, passionate player, and that's going to man my perimeter defense out there as a 3. At the 4, we're gonna go with he's at Davidson. They're making their run in March Madness, and they're at Ford Field, I believe, in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. He has a big up and under layup when he gets big contact, still able to finish on the outside. And I feel like there was a lot of naysayers about his ability to finish at the next level and everything. And I feel like that was a glimpse of what we were gonna get with the Steph that we now all know and love. So I got the up and under lay. I believe it was in the Sweet 16 in their March Madness run. And at the 5, similar to Tommy, same game, but I want a specific moment. I got the point to the finger, and it's for the same reasons Tommy said. He went with the point value, but I feel like that was kind of like a stamp. That was a real stamp for him. Like there was a lot of people that said he wasn't going to do it on his own again, and that was he did it in the third quarter. That just eludes confidence, and you need that as a center. So that's my 5.
That's actually a different game, Lucas. So you're good.
He did it in their closeout game.
Game 4 was the game I was talking about when they were down 2-1.
Oh, okay. I believe he still had purple shoes on then. Game 6 too.
He probably did wear them, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So
nice. That's a good 5. I like it. Annie, so you reel it off.
Okay, so again, I made this list on narcotics. So I was struggling because I was like, Jared, am I supposed to put like moments or like specific shots or like what are we doing here? So here's what I went with. So my point guard, I need somebody that's gonna hold down the fort, and I got night Steph. Night Steph because he's usually taking people to the basket that are bigs, like drawing them out and a lot of like handle moves to get to the bucket. At least what I've seen, like a lot of those videos and a lot of like something flashy and then into a step back. But night Curry's iconic, so I'm gonna start off strong with that. My shooting guard is when he hit his 2,974 3 versus the Knicks. Iconic moment again. Like I think that I put him as shooting guard because that's obvious. I mean, like that's those numbers. I don't think he gets credit also for how unreal that is and how like he is one of the younger. I mean, he's not young, like he's getting to be a vet, but like for him to be able to do that and to continue playing and that number is just going to continue to grow with how much momentum he has is like that blows my mind. That absolutely blows my mind. And my small forward, I got 62 points versus Portland. I had that one on there too. My power forward, no look Curry threes. that also was an iconic one. The shot and turn to the bench, and he did that a lot at the to the players that were talking crap at the Curry camp too. So I had to throw that in there because he was doing it to like every player that had something to say. He would hit it like from like past half court and then just turn and look at them and say something back. Like it's just crazy that he can do stuff like that. The confidence in his shot is just unreal. For my center, like you said, I need somebody strong to hold down the fort. And like Luke said, I use this one because I think I need power and energy and aggression in the paint. But I got ejected for throwing mouthpiece. I got that at the center, and I think that's just so it's crazy because there was less than a minute left on the clock, and he got ejected for that. That's just crazy. But yeah, that's my starting five.
Man,
I like it.
I'm just, what was that? 2 repeats. I'm just super ecstatic because 1, there's no repeats from my list, and 2, it just shows you the greatness of the greatest point guard of all time. Like,
Man, there's
no
yeah,
repeats.
It's
man.
insane.
My
You can
list,
make
my
sense
list
in
is
this
so
list.
long, but we're gonna start with my point guard. And this moment was changing the game for all point guards. Like Luke likes to have his point guards be a pass first guy, feed the shooter, that kind of vibe. But Steph really turned that on its head. So my point guard is setting the record for most threes in a season. That's 402.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's 5 threes a game made in an NBA game. It's actually insane. My shooting guard. I've been a Warriors fan for a long time. This was one of my favorite players. I was very upset. I can be honest. I was upset when Steph got drafted because they already had a great scoring guard. But this was a real critical moment in Steph's career where they decided to give him the keys. So my shooting guard is when they traded Monte Ellis for Andrew Bogut, which ended up turning into a critical piece of that team dynasty. My small forward, a lot of people early in his career tried to guard Steph with longer, more athletic players, crowd him, double team. And he just kind of proved in this moment that none of that stuff really matters. So give me the crazy 3 against the Clippers where he dribbled through about 4 people and then went backwards and then turned and threw it. That was like to me, that was one of the most iconic Steph moments of like, I can do whatever I want out here. None of you really matter. Power forward, he didn't go to a big time school. He was part of the Cinderella story. So the big time schools never really came around, but there was one big time school that gave him like a baby handout because his dad played there. And I think the best thing he did for his career in a critical moment was turning down Virginia Tech, walk on. We are the walk on pod, but he decided not to be a walk on, go to Davidson, and the rest is history. And everybody's been on the same page. The center needs to be the staple of my team. He needs to be, the top of the mountaintop right here. And to me, that's the 2015 championship. Steph proved himself before they had KD, before any of the other stuff. 2015, Steph won 40 years to the date after the Warriors won their last one. So
there's a moment up there that I'm surprised you don't have, Jared.
There's so many. My walk-on list is like 15 deep, so I'm really struggling right here.
There's just one that fits your brand right now that I think you need.
I'm interested to hear it, but I'll wait until everybody goes through. So for my walk-on, there again, like Tommy said, there's so many things to pick from. But I do want, because we talked about earlier, I was fortunate enough years ago when Steph Curry first started having his camp, I got to go and watch I think it was the second year they had it. And I got a chance, again, in same fashion as Annie, I got a chance to talk to him. I almost got tackled by the security guard, but I did it. I was able to talk to him for about 10 minutes. And I asked him specifically about shooting and what he thinks about and all these other things. I asked him about, how he holds the ball. And I was like saying all this stuff to him. He was looking at me crazy. Like, obviously he doesn't think about it like how I thought about it. But he did tell me one specific thing that he changed, or the one thing he did is that when he was a sophomore in high school, he used to shoot from under his chin in his chest. He said once his sophomore year was over, he moved his shot pocket up above his right eye. And that was the only thing he's ever changed or done to his shot since the time he was born.
Crazy.
And it's like something as simple as just from here to here turned into the greatest shooter in the world we'll ever see. So that is my walk on. Small thing turned into big results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, Annie, you got your walk on?
All right. My walk on is post practice making 105 threes in a row.
Mm.
The reason I say that is because I chose one about practice because I do think it really is what translates, and the way that he practices is just it's not what other NBA players are doing, and it's very clear because of how far he separated himself. And I think to be able to make 105 threes in a row is just unbelievable. Like the dedication and practice that he's put into his shot and perfecting it is what makes him so able to execute on every level on the floor. You can't guard him, and that's why. And I also wanted to say, Jared, he said about Davidson, he said he chose that school, and he chose not to walk on, but he said like something that really stood out too was that it doesn't matter where you end up committing. Go somewhere that you're going to be happy, because if you're good enough, they'll find you. And they always do. Walk on, not walk on, big school, not big school, they will find you.
We talked about it today, didn't we, Luke?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
All right, my walk on. I'm not surprised that this one didn't get taken, and I'm glad it didn't.
Gonna be goofy.
So this is my walk on because it's something that I don't think I could ever do. Unless, you know, I just know the bag was thrown at him, and I have to tip the cap. Give me Steph Curry in the Subway ad, because it's well known. I hate Subway. And I just don't know how you could do that. So I just commend him for the amount of dollars that he's accumulating from that deal.
I didn't even think about it.
Subway Steph Curry.
Oh, God.
Subway Steph. All right, Tom, what you got, man?
I have a few things to say here. One, I want to change one of my picks.
No.
Why?
This is crazy.
No, I'm just a little disappointed that none of us put it there. I thought it was going to be like the most obvious one, so I didn't put it there.
Pull up against OKC?
No, well, that one's great. But since Annie and I have a repeat, I want to suggest that I switch my 62-point game to Steph Curry's Madison Square Garden 54-point game.
Yeah, that's on my walk-on list.
Okay. Anyway, now that we're out there, Jared, I was surprised you didn't put him dropping CP3.
Yeah, well, I have that on here. The list
I was
is long.
expecting you. I was expecting you.
Long.
Yeah.
Mine is.
Let's hear yours, and then I can give you the honoraries.
There's just too many. Mine is 2015, year they won the championship. They go down 2-1 to Memphis, win the game, tie it up 2-2, and then pivotal moment in the series, Steph hits a 60-footer in the third quarter to swing all the momentum to get him over the hump to beat the Grizzlies to move on to eventually win the championship.
Great pick.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I got CP touches earth, popcorn versus CP. A lot of CP attack. The double in and out game winner versus the Magic on Aaron Gordon. Yeah. 54 at the Garden, 73 and 9. Yeah, I had a lot.
What about contact lenses, Steph? Because that was my backup walk on.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one that people don't talk about either.
Yeah.
My backup walk on was the Oracle hallway splash.
Yeah, that was a cool one. Ooh, that's a good one, Tom. I didn't think about that one.
The pregame,
that's a good one.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
Or the underhand floater over the backboard. Yeah, there's just.
Yeah, he's the man.
Talk about it, Jared.
Yeah, no shimmies. We didn't talk about any shimmies either.
That was one of my backups. Was the no looks or the shimmy Curry.
You know, Annie, I'm not sure if you dabbled in golf yet.
I have.
Okay.
I told you I'll beat you on the course, so just whenever you're ready.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Do we both play for the women's tees, or what are we doing here?
Oh.
Or I'm giving you shots. Anyways, if you're out on the links, you probably have a good day, right? But for me, if I got 30 in my cart and 50 chips in my bag, next time Edgewood won't stand a chance because birdie's on deck when I'm hunting the flag.
Nice. Real poetic. That was a good
Yeah.
one. I like that one.
Yeah. Take that with you, Annie.
Annie
Sure,
looks
what that
confused.
means.
She looks really confused.
Again, narcotics. Can you repeat it?
No.
Nope, it only happens once a episode. You have to go back and
You
listen.
can listen
and
to it on
share.
Sunday.
I will.
Here we go.
When it drops.
Yeah.
I will sit here like, is this English?
Thank you for coming on today. I mean, I didn't know the full length of your story, and I'm amazed truly. Like, your mindset and your resilience is very admirable, and I know all our listeners are gonna be amazed by it as well. So I really appreciate you taking your time to come and share your story. It's been incredible.
Of
So
course.
appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks, Annabelle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, sir. As always, these are your favorite walk, and we're walking out.